dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John Nelson here with you. And this morning will be traditionally, your Monday busy. We've got Gold Cup to talk about. We've got Club World Cup to talk about. Abe Gordon's going to join us in a little bit, and he's going to be kind of our hybrid this morning in hour number one, where Abe will be discussing everything from Atlanta United and what happened in Columbus, getting ready for DC, and a little bit of Club World Cup and a little bit of the activity going on with the men's national team and the Gold Cup. So Abe's kind of a hybrid in hour number one. We've got a lot of stuff to get into news-wise, especially overseas, involving teams and sales and possible sales and firings and legal stuff. And so there's plenty of that this morning. And then Bart Keeler is going to join us in hour number two because there's plenty to talk about when it comes to U.S. soccer and the Gold Cup. We've got the women's team who is having no issues with Ireland and a couple of friendlies. We've got the men's team who looked at the matchup that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit and sit there and go, ha, 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 and then it almost wasn't so damn funny, was it? So we got to get into that. And so Bart's going to be pretty busy, and we also have some reffing down here moments. I did want to get into the Malik Tillman PK call, the Schaffelberg call, and anything else that might have crossed Bart's radar when it comes to reffing down here. So Bart might be earning his keep this morning when it comes to any and all of the things. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Alex. So, yes, and yesterday, Club World Cup, you had Messi and friends and PSG. And, I mean, look, remember, Inter Milan lost worse than Messi and friends did. Right now, we got to see firsthand yesterday why PSG is the best team on this planet right now. And it was effortless. It was ruthless. It was fluid. It was gorgeous. And, I mean, it was nasty at points. PSG, you sit there and you look at it and you're going, man, it was completely and totally impressed on a bunch of different levels. Absolutely was. And if you missed any of the action or any of the post-match stuff, you can go back to the Off the Woodwork section. 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Go into the Off the Woodwork podcast section. The post-match is there with Maddie and Jason. And we have two more matches that are here in Atlanta. One coming up on Tuesday, by the way. Remember, Tuesday. Dortmund, Monterey. It's the nightcap. It's the late one. So get your caffeine. Maybe get your caffeine when you get to Mercedes-Benz. 9 o'clock right there. Dortmund, Monterey. You can watch it on the Zone. But if you want to be a part of seeing two really cool divergent fan bases, Monterey and Dortmund, you can go and be a part of things at Mercedes-Benz. Go to FIFA.com/tickets. 9 o'clock kick. So it will be intriguing. Yes, it will. It will be definitely intriguing. And unlike what we've seen in the Gold Cup, if it's tie after 90, they keep going. It's another 30, and then if it's still tied, they go to PKs. But right there, FIFA.com/tickets. Go see Dortmund and Monterrey. And then remember that on Saturday at noon, it is Bayern and PSG. Bayern and PSG at Mercedes-Benz. Noon kick Saturday, July 5th. So hopefully you will have recovered from July 4th, and you'll be ready for July 5th. July 5th, very, very busy. You start your day with Atlanta, with the Club World Cup in Atlanta with Bayern and PSG. And by the time you get home, you're ready for Atlanta United and DC United. So that's the fun part of all of that. That's Saturday. Reminder, no show Friday because of July 4th. And the boss and I are going to be rooting on all of you who will be going up and down Peachtree. And just for the record, for those of you that will be going up, technically down Peachtree Street, south to north, you get close to Bennett Street, and you will see me and the boss and a couple of our friends, we will be handing out liquid refreshments and rooting you on as you head up Heartbreak Hill toward the hospital, toward Piedmont Hospital. So we will be there, right-hand side of the road as you are traveling southbound, going up Heartbreak Hill. Like I said, we're about the halfway point of Heartbreak Hill, just before you get to Bennett Street. So you can't miss us. And we'll be there rooting all of you on who are on the race and descriptions on Friday. So no show Friday. Tomorrow, just to kind of get you through the guests, it is going to be guests in hour number 2. The Atlanta United was mentioned that they are in a tournament in Houston, Texas, and that is going to be coming up at the end of July. And so what we're going to do is we're going to catch up with Anna Torres, who is attached to this tournament in July in Houston, Texas. A lot of folks from all around the planet are going to be there. And so after the win that we've seen and the couple of ground out results from the unified team at the end of July, they're going to be in a tournament in Houston, Texas. And we're going to catch up with one of the folks that is one of the hires up in that tournament. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then at 10:30, our friend John Arnold is going to come by and discuss what it's like to be CONCACAFinated. And we're going to break down everything going on Gold Cup at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Wednesday, it's going to be, I don't know if I think Tyler's back from Portugal. So we're going to discuss Portugal with Tyler. We'll discuss Atlanta United with Tyler. We'll discuss Club World Cup with Tyler. 10 o'clock, if Dylan Butler can join us, one of the busiest men in the Northeast, then he will join us. And at 10:30, Keeler Hodges from the USL show. They'll be joining us at 10:30 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, it is open in hour number 1. Nino and Nico, the Power Hour in hour number 2. And once again, remember, no show on Friday because of it being July 4th. So that's the week that we have here involving SDH AM. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, go enjoy July 4th. And if something happens earth-shattering, we might get into it. But July 5th, Club World Cup at noon. Then it's going to be Atlanta United, DC United. That one is going to be normal time, so 6:30 pregame, 7:40 kick, and then the full-time report after with Maddie Cruz and I believe Garrett Chapman, because Abe is taking July 4th and spending time with family for that weekend. So that's your rundown of the week. Abe Gordon coming up in just a sec to break down everything that we have seen so far here on the weekend. And that is, so let me say hi to everybody who has parachuted in this morning. And so let's see. It is Ricky, it's Rich, David, and let's see. So David and Rich and Michael Head. Michael is in this morning. And to answer his question from last week, no, Miami cannot compete. Messi and friends cannot compete with PSG. I had it as something 4-1-ish, to be perfectly honest with you. I did. And you got to see, and if you haven't seen the highlights, go check the highlights. If you can find a way to go back, if you've registered for DAZN for free for the tournament, go back and watch the match. I'm serious. Take the 2 hours and watch that match, and you will see, and we'll discuss PSG and Messi and friends and later on. But the short version is involving PSG. Like I said, you got to see why they are the top team in Europe. The top team in Europe, and they are ridiculous. And we got to see why. So, Ricky says all the Messi fans went home sad, but I mean, you had Messi fans wearing PSG jerseys. So I don't know if they were just fans of PSG, fans of Messi while he was at PSG, or how that worked. But yeah, we'll go over all the numbers, and some of the numbers themselves are staggering. Some of the stats in that match are insane. Insane, I tell you. Just nuts. But yeah, we'll go over what happened yesterday at Mercedes-Benz with PSG and Messi and friends. We'll go over that match. It was dominant, understandably so. You would have thought, and it would have been discussed. If you get an early goal, if you're Messi and friends, then you kind of have a bit of a rethink and a refocus from PSG. That didn't happen. You end up with an early goal from PSG, and we'll go over that too. And then you had 3 goals in 10 minutes, and then one right at the end of the half. I think it was like 39, 43, and 45 plus 3 with Hakimi, and it was done. I mean, 4-0 at the break, and it was – and Abby is absolutely correct. This is probably the best adjective to use. PSG is beautiful to watch. They are. By the way, the boss – we had the birthdays last week. Abby, in a rainstorm, goes and plants a bunch of 60 markers in the yard for the boss, and it was all over the front yard. I don't know how Abby dodged the big spider that's the size of a defensive tackle that we have in the front yard to put all this stuff down, but absolutely just bang, 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 littered the front of the house with 60 stuff. And it was very, very humbling, and I've got the video, and at some point, Abby, I have to show it to you. But, yeah, the boss was absolutely blown away by the display that was placed in the front yard and in the driveway and on the front stoop and in the wreath and everything. So cannot thank you enough. The boss was very, very humbled by what you did, and it's going to be a fantastic talking point going forward. Okay. Tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Abe Gordon be opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And just really quickly, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching us this morning. So that's how you watch, and that's how you go to Kickoff Coffee. Hit that QR code, go to Kickoff Coffee, start your day with Kickoff Coffee, then use the code Soccer Down Here 15 when you check out, because you buy the whole store, you buy them out, but you can buy them out at a 15% discount by using the QR code at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay. Tell you what, now let's get into our conversation with Abe Gordon. Abe, by the way, for those of you that might have your terrestrial radio dialed up at the moment, you'll hear his voice. So he couldn't do two things at once. He caught up with us. Talk about Atlanta United. We talk about the Gold Cup. We talk about Club World Cup. We talk about getting ready for this weekend and the matchup against DC United. So here is our conversation from about an hour ago with Abe Gordon and 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, laying everything out here on the table here on a Reaction Monday. As always, time to catch up with our buddy Abe Gordon over at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, because he's kind of busy. He's got a lot of things going on. First and foremost, sir, the most important question of your week. Are you ready for Friday and the people?
Yeah, I think I am. I've done a lot of in the last 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of my final training runs or whatever in the afternoon, at the hottest parts of the day. And I'm hoping that will give me a little bit of preparation for what should still be a hot morning, but not quite as hot as it has been during most of my runs. So that's the hope, and then we'll just go from there.
What group are you in?
I am in A.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're immediately out of the blocks.
Yeah. We're trying to finish before the sun is. Because the other thing people don't realize is that down the last stretch, the last maybe 2 miles or whatever, it's not just the temperature. The sun is just brutally reflecting off of buildings too. And it really, really pushes the heat up. So we're trying to maybe get out there before it's at the right angle to be peppering people.
Yeah, and so that was, the boss traditionally, she's toward the back, and she is taking this year off because of just training and injuries and stuff like that. So we will be watching everyone else that we know that is going at 7,000 miles an hour and trying to go from one end to the other and get your T-shirt.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Feeling pretty good, and I might do one more easy 3-mile run or something Tuesday, but if it doesn't rain. But we're pretty much there, so somehow got there without injuring myself too much.
Yes, knock on wood. And obviously, we're looking forward to everybody that makes it for the Peachtree Road Race on Friday. Yes, because that's why we have no show, is because we're going to be watching everybody run the Peachtree Road Race on Friday. The day after that, Atlanta United takes on DC United up in DC as the road trip continues. And it's another night of frustration in Columbus, and you're heading into an environment in DC where you can get things done. And you've got to get things done if you are going to make that push to get into the playoffs. No, I'm not saying 4 or 5 seed or whatever. Right now, I'm talking just getting in. DC is an opportunity for you coming up on Saturday to take that first step.
Yeah, when you looked at the road trip and look at the opponents, you're sitting there like, man, that's a tough go. You've got Miami there, although that game got moved. You had Columbus, and you had some of these Orlando, I think, was in that group earlier, and it was always going to be tough. But the one thing I had said, the one thing I think we all understood is you can't come out of a 6-game road trip with 0 points. And so far, that's what you're headed towards. And if it doesn't change, then you could probably go ahead and kiss it goodbye. You just can't rely on winning at home to move you up the table. And so they got to find a way to get some points here. And at this point, it probably needs to be 3 and not 1. And so I think you're right. I think you've really got to push all the chips in and go for it. The question is, who are you going to have? Again, you've got some concerns in the midfield. Don't know if Moyamba's going to be fully ready to go, although there's certainly potential of that. I guess Sleesh, because of the yellow card, and he had one removed for good behavior and blah, blah, blah. It's such a stupid format. Well, because if it was my choice, coming back from the international break, you would have just had him serve his, 1-game suspension in a game you weren't going to use him in anyways. But because of good behavior, that got removed, then he immediately gets a yellow card, and now he's out for this one. So I think the question is, and then obviously the Jay Fortune injury adds into that. Is it time for Will Riley to get another start? I think I'd like to see that. The Mateus Click thing, maybe he's in that discussion too. But it's not a great time, right? I mean, most of the season, honestly, hasn't been a great time. But there's still this feeling like they'll figure it out or find a way. And kind of like a lot of people maybe starting to feel with the Braves. It's just like, maybe this just isn't the year, despite what talent we perceive to be on this team. And then the next question is what changes when you have the ability to change it in terms of personnel, who's on this roster, and some of those decisions that'll be made over the course of the next month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you've got less than a month, 30, like 24 days before. Me and math on a Monday. It's 3 things that never work. You've got that secondary window coming up, and there's the prevailing opinion with a lot of folks that you should just go ahead and put as many of the younger players in as possible and see how they integrate here in this month, getting you into the transfer window, and then see what the transfer window can bring you, either inbound, outbound, or both. But no, I mean, the more that, and
what's it going to be? Worse than 0 points on the road? Like I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, you're not getting anything done with the guys that you're paying high money to, and that you expect. I mean, I've been kind of on that for a while, because it's not going to be worse. I mean, I guess if you're worried about potentially being embarrassed on the pitch, like PSG style to Miami, but I mean, figure it out. Try something new. You can't just keep knocking at the same block.
Yeah, you've got 4 matches before the window opens on the 24th at DC, at Toronto. Once again, these 2 matches, they are winnable situations. Then you come home to Chicago, and Greg Berhalter has turned that team into a pain in the you-know-what this year. And then you have Charlotte in a rivalry game on the 29th, and then that leads you into the window, and then the home match against Seattle on the 26th. And so with the injury to Steon Gregerson, with the injury to Derek Williams, then you're leaning toward a back 3 of some combination of Abram and Matt Edwards and Efren Morales and Noah Cobb, 4 for those 3 slots, with Brooks on the right or Saba, depending on what you're looking for defensively and possession wise against Columbus. And then on the left hand side, Pedro Amador. Then to your point, you have Will Riley as a part of the discussion as more of your 6 or playing an 8. And then Mateus Click giving you however many minutes he can. Then you work your strategic substitution there. And then up top, it's the big guns. So, in the sum total of 45 seconds, we mentioned, 3 or 4 of the younger players that a lot of folks it's like, look, they have shown me in sound bites. They have shown me in effort that I want to see them go. And so, that might be out of necessity in some parts because, once again, Derek, Tristan, Stian, you don't have them, so therefore you plug in the younger players into that kind of a situation. I think you're leaning to that almost out of necessity at this point.
Yeah, you're not unless you're really going to go there. You're not committing to it. Like again, what are you going to do? Get worse than 0 points? Like I'd be fine committing to your 3 center backs being Ephra, Noah Cobb, and Matt Edwards, and not that Luis Abram hasn't done a good job, but like. Go ahead and see what you can build with those 3 back there. Yeah. Maybe Goose isn't a fan of that, but go ahead and see what's going on. The other one that kind of hurts is I wouldn't mind, and I guess there's a timeline for his return. I wouldn't have minded seeing Cayman Togashi over these past stretches because he was really heating up with the 2s. He had some good performances when he'd been called upon. Here with the first team, and he's a guy I'd like to get a look at and just see what sort of creation and chaos. I mean, he's kind of an agent of chaos in a good way. I don't think he's like overly risky chaotic because look, he's not going to score the prettiest goals, although we've seen some of those with the 2s. But it just feels like he gets in the middle of things and makes a difference. I would have liked to have seen him over the stretch, but he had his knee injury. As well. I'm still interested to see if he comes back and maybe they can. But yeah, I just think that you're ready for the youth, and you're not going to make changes up top just because I don't really know what youth you really have up top in terms of like if you're going to sideline Latte Loth for a moment or sideline Miggy for a moment. I guess Luke Brennan is in the discussion, but we've seen him time here and there, and there's a little bit of hope, but we haven't really seen much benefit out of that. So it's still, you're talking about your back line and your midfield, but I'm ready for it. I'd like to see it. And again, if we're going to lose games, like let me lose games while trying to pick out a couple positives, while trying to discuss the argument that we're building towards something. Right now, you're losing games and there is no way forward from it. There is no benefit to it. At least I can make an argument that you're trying to grow. You're trying to see what you have. You're certainly showcasing talent if teams are interested and go from there.
Yeah, and no Jay Fortune, which lends into other discussions, and that was news that was officially official. You end up also with, possibly the idea of maybe an Edwin Mosqueda working on the wing if Matt Edwards isn't positioned out on the left-hand side. So there are things that Ronnie Dyla can play with here to get you into the transfer window and see if there's anything that's desirable one way or the other. When you go back to that matchup against Columbus, what else sticks in your head from that matchup? I know that it was, once again, it was an effort that left a lot to be desired, but what else sticks in your head that you carry forward to this matchup with DC?
Yeah, the biggest concern for me is I don't know what's going on with Latte Loth. It's just a striker that's supposed to be too good to not be able to finish in situations where the team has finally put him in a moment to have a moment. Obviously, he had a nice little cutback, misses the net. He had another situation where he was kind of one in. He was dragging a defender with him, but create the space and get a shot off, and he wasn't able to do that. I think it's so simple to just be like, is there a confidence issue? So I don't know what it is, but like there's something going on with him. He should have been scoring some more goals, and specifically, like it's one thing to just be like he hasn't really had opportunity. He had very specific opportunities against Columbus and wasn't able to convert. He's got to be better in those moments. I don't know how much it impacts the game. You obviously got blitzkrieged in that one. And then just in the back, obviously, what was it, 4 goals or whatever it was. And there were some mistakes made, but I thought Efren Morales did an okay job back there. And I don't think he individually costed you goals, although there was a mistake here or there that could have put you in a bad spot. I don't think he cost you the goals, and I'd be open to seeing him again. I thought he was relatively commanding as the center of the center backs. And I thought he did a good job. And again, I would love to see the young back three of Matt Edwards, Noah Cobb, Efren Morales. And I wouldn't be massively shocked if we get that, although I think Luis Abram has done a pretty good job too. But I mean, guys have got to finish. And Latte specifically had moments and wasn't able to.
Yeah, 3-1 final, 3 goals, 19 minutes. Herrera with 1 to start it, and then Jason Russell Rowe with a brace in 10 minutes to get you there. Because of things going on at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that's why Atlanta United is on the road for as long as they are. Are you watching Club World Cup? Are you watching Gold Cup? What else?
I'm definitely watching the Gold Cup, and I watch Club World Cup when I can. Not all of the games are on TV, although I think hopefully we're getting to that stage where more of the Club World Cup is. I didn't put DAZN on my smart TV, so no. If any of you have promo codes, I'd love to watch more boxing.
Yeah.
But and I know they're free. I know the games have been free on DAZN anyways. But I've been paying attention. I think it's great that we have one more quarterfinal match. I think, round of 16 matchup. I think the quarterfinal matchup that's going to be played at Mercedes-Benz. What is that? The end of the week? Is that Saturday or whatever it is?
Saturday at noon. Bayern and PSG.
Yeah, I mean, Bayern PSG is just such an awesome. It's a banger of a matchup. It's a matchup that is quality of a Champions League final or a Champions League semifinal, and we're getting that here in Atlanta. I think we saw PSG as Champions League winners, just what they can do against Inter Miami. Like, I know we're all sitting here, most of us as Americans, like propping up the MLS, but like that was just the showcase in the difference in quality and a lot of different things, including the financial situations of the two leagues and all that. But it was cool to see here in Atlanta. Obviously, the building was packed, and it's two left. I think there's only 2 more at Mercedes-Benz. You got Monterrey against Borussia Dortmund, and I think that's Tuesday, and then a big quarterfinal matchup against 2 powers of Europe there on Saturday. So looking forward to it. Been watching it, been enjoying it. I do appreciate that most of the European teams are here to win. And I just think you can call it whatever you want. I think with most of their seasons over and this feeling like a lot of extra work for them, there is sometimes a world in which they wouldn't show up and don't care to play, and they don't necessarily feel they need this title. They know that they're the best in the world with or without it. And I think in previous years when you only had 6 or 7 teams, I think a lot of times that's what you got was a B team or a warm-up squad, stuff like that. These teams are here to win, and I think it makes it better from a viewing perspective. It also makes it better from a competitive perspective. And so enjoying that. And then the Gold Cup. I am watching a lot of Gold Cup. Obviously, the 2 penalty shootouts last night. Canada loses to Guatemala. That sets up a semifinal matchup with Guatemala for the U.S., who also barely got through in their own penalty shootout. Doesn't have to be this difficult, man. Like, just for Canada too, for Guatemala, for the U.S., like, just put it on net. Like, just make the keeper make a save. You can't be skying it. So, luckily, Matt Freese, who a lot of people had been questioning for a good portion of this tournament, why is he the U.S. number 1? At least in terms of a penalty shootout, showed you why. A lot of good saves there, and a couple of good finishes, and moving on to the semifinals of the Gold Cup against certainly a game Costa Rica squad.
Yeah, that was the Keeler.
Well, the other thing is, like, we're all kind of like, there's a large contingent of U.S. men's national teams fans who are mocking Canada for losing in a penalty shootout to Guatemala, and you have the benefit of doing that because there's 2 hours between when their games ends and when yours gets going in the shootout. And it's like a little bit of careful what you wish for, man, because like you had 2 hours of fun. It's not so fun anymore, is it? And you certainly would have got it back and then some if you had dropped the ball, but luckily they didn't. You don't get the U.S.-Canada semifinal matchup. That would have been a lot of fun as well. And so U.S. now against Guatemala, certainly a path to the finals.
Yeah, the door opened up, and yeah, as you say, be careful what you wish. Man, that it was ha 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 ha. So yeah, you're laughing now. I mean, that was what matchup 2 was all about. As always, my friend, I know that you're busy. You're going to be doing 2 things at once, starting at 9 o'clock this morning. As always, great to see you, and we'll catch up with you after, and we'll find out how your Peachtree Road Race was. Be safe, my friend.
Yep, sounds good, John. Thanks.
Abe Gordon, everybody, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. So we'll get ready for Abe and his run, and I mean that literally and figuratively, about the Peachtree Road Race. And we'll be rooting for all of you that will be taking the Peachtree Road Race and going, making sure that you guys are safe. It's supposed to be kind of hot, so just take it easy. Hydrate, get your T-shirt, take a picture, show us on social media. All right. Let's see. I know that everybody's been discussing what's going on. Abby, the attendance was listed at north of almost 65. I think it's 65.5, I think was what it was listed at. Now, it got full. It was, there were folks that were waiting outside for a while to get in. There were a lot of folks who were trying to get in and could not until moments had passed in the first half. So listed, I think 65,574, I think was the number that was listed. So that's what you were looking at. Yes, so there is a lot of money that is attached that is there. I think that if you win in this round, it was 13. I think it's 13.5 million. And then you keep winning, and then I think it gets to 22 or something like that. But yesterday, since we're here discussing Club World Cup, we'll go ahead and discuss Club World Cup. Bart Keeler from the SoccerForUSPod is going to join us in about 20 minutes. So yesterday, and we have actual fallout from the Club World Cup. We have actual fallout from the Club World Cup. So this weekend, Palmeiras beats Botafogo 1-0. Chelsea had no problem with Benfica 4-1. Benfica picked up a red. They go to extra time, and then Benfica loses in extra time. Chelsea puts 3 on the board, wins 4-1. PSG, once again, yesterday, shut out Messi and friends 4-0. Bayern Munich and Flamengo, absolutely insane, crazy, nuts. Not a shock. But you had Bayern Munich putting 2 on the board. Pulgar, an own goal in the 6th. Harry Kane scored in the 9th to make it 2-0, and you're sitting there going, uh-oh. Then Gerson scores in the 33rd to make it 2-1. That was the score at the break. Goretzka scored in the 41st to make it 3-1. So 3-1 at the break. Jorginho scores from the spot to make it 3-2. Harry Kane scores his brace with about 17 to go. And so 4-2 your final at Hard Rock. So Flamengo is drawing praise for not backing down one bit from Bayern. And that was what happened this weekend. I mentioned what happened this weekend because how long ago was this? Late last night, our time. Botafogo fired their head coach. So literally, you get into the knockouts, you don't beat Palmeiras at the link in the game that we anticipated that it was going to be, and you decide to fire your head coach. 11:25 last night. Botafogo announces Renato Paiva is no longer the head coach of the first team. Decision was communicated to the professional, and this is translated, professional on Sunday night. The club thanks Paiva and his assistants for their services rendered to the Glorioso in recent months, with special mention to the historic victory against PSG in the Club World Cup and the qualification for the round of 16 in the Libertadores and the Copa do Brasil. John Textor in the football department board are in the market searching for a new coach for the challenge of continuing on the path to titles, aiming for the Bicampeonatos of the Libertadores and the Brasileiro and the unprecedented Copa do Brasil title. So John Textor and the football department board, for whatever reason, decide to fire Renato Paiva from Botafogo. You lose to Palmeiras. You get into the knockouts. You lose to Palmeiras. And you decide, for whatever reason, so you lose to Palmeiras, okay, cool, I get it. In the Club World Cup, you decide that because you lose 1-0 in the knockouts, the first round of the knockouts, round of 16, that Renato Paiva is no longer your head coach. You know, I sit here and I think about it, and it makes my head hurt first and foremost. That you have a football department board. Rich letting us know that reports were that Textor was in attendance at the link to watch Botafogo. Who paid for his trip? Did he max out a credit card? Beat 2, 3, 4. So Textor, so John Textor, who can't pay his bills in France, and I'm guessing was somewhat leveraging the bottom line, as he said in his presentation to the authorities in France, that they were going to try and that they were going to, back in November, December, shift funds from Botafogo to Lyon to help pay Lyon's bills so they wouldn't run afoul of the powers that are. So Botafogo makes it into the knockouts. You have all of this success, but you decide that you are going to, for whatever reason, and I don't believe John Textor has come out publicly and said why, as of 11:25 last night, so 10 hours and 18 minutes ago, has not given a reason other than just like, it's not you, it's me. Think about all the breakup. Think about all the breakup songs. It's just it just doesn't feel right. Think about all the breakups. Think about all the breakups that you've had in the past, and what those breakups were. I'd love to know what the conversation was like. And I'm hoping that Paiva gets paid. I really am. I'd love to know. I'd love to know. Legitimately, is Paiva owed anything on a deal? Is he? Okay, so Jonathan Tannenwald, thank you, Rich. FIFA President Gianni Infantino back in Philly. Jill Ellis, Carlos Cordero, refereeing chief Pierluigi Collina, Alejandro Dominguez, also in the box. Heard John Textor was in the building, but I don't know where. Oh, currently in Atlanta. Say hi when you see him. I'm just going to say that. Well, let's put it this way. If he is currently in Atlanta, if John Textor is currently in Atlanta, it better be making his way up I-75, or at least to go hang out at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to figure out, okay, I owe you $21 million plus interest. How are we going to get this squared away? That's what I'm looking at here. Now, I am looking at the idea of perhaps, I don't know. John Tannenwald. Sorry. We did see him in the press box yesterday. Tannenwald did come in. Yeah, when you said JT, I was like John Texter. But yeah, Tannenwald was in the press box yesterday. And as much of a Francophile as he is, to see him come like basically sprinting in with about an hour to go before the match, not a surprise. As much as he loves French football on a bunch of different levels, he literally came in to see the match, cover the match, and I think he had to turn around and try to make an 8:30 flight to get out of Atlanta to head back to the Northeast. So, yes, we did see him yesterday, and he did make the rounds. He had some quick conversations with Doug Robertson at the AJC. There were some other folks in the press box that he knew, but to see an opportunity for a miles and points trip for Jonathan Tannenwald to make his way to Mercedes-Benz to see PSG, not a surprise. And it would not also surprise me to see if he reapplied to come down to see PSG and Bayern on Saturday, unless he's covering Philadelphia Union. So, yes, Jonathan Tannenwald was there. The other JT, John Texter, if he was in Philly, if he was making his way to Atlanta, how did we pay bills? That's my how did he pay? How did he pay to get to Philly to watch the team? Is it a team expense? And the board in some kind of a Zoom call or something? No reason as to why you decide to dispose of Renato Paiva. No clue why. So you make it to the knockouts, but he didn't get you enough money. He didn't get you enough. So who knows? But no rationale. So, according to TNT Sports in Brazil, could not withstand the elimination. The Alvinegro announced the departure of the manager early hours of Monday morning. So, yes, we have no background on the why. And apparently, John Texter is actually trending now on the 280-character app. And it is also apparent that, and I've got to double check this. I've got to double check this to see if it is in fact going on. Hang on. From Olympic Lyon, Michel Kang has been appointed president of Lyon. Michael Gerlinger becomes the general director. And so, yes, agree and close. So, today confirmed changes to its management team, appointing Michel Kang as club president, CEO of Eagle Football Group, and Michael Gerlinger as club chief executive officer. Kang served on the OL board of directors since 23, appointed president, active role in supporting Lyon's executive leadership, including leading the club's appeals process with the DNCG. That was the folks that John Texter got in trouble with the presentation of it trying to stay afloat in Ligue 1 for Lyon. Texter has resigned from his leadership roles at Lyon, including from the board of directors. Michel Kang, quote, entering a critical period for Olympic Lyon. I would like to thank John for his commitment and vision in bringing the club into Eagle football family. I look forward to working closely with Michael, the OL management team, board of directors to support the club throughout the DNCG proceedings and beyond. John Texter, quote, I'm extremely proud of our sporting successes at Olympique Lyonnais, which has managed to rebuild its team and return to European competitions over the past 2 years after a long absence. Grateful to everyone at Lyon for their dedication during this exceptionally difficult period. Michel's the ideal choice to lead Lyon in the next phase. Full confidence in her and in Lyon, who will emerge stronger under her leadership, end quote. So John Texter resigns. Michel Kang now takes over, and we will see where things go from Lyon from here. But before he decided to leave Lyon, he fired Renato Paiva because apparently they didn't make it deep enough into the Club World Cup. Well, okay then. And you're not the only one who thinks this, Rich. Rich is like, just buy the whole bleeping Lyon franchise already. Yeah, you ain't You ain't the only one thinking that. You are not the only one thinking that at all. So, yeah. We'll go ahead. Yeah. Ugh. You fire Renato Paiva because he doesn't make it out of the first round of the knockouts. Then you resign as the head of Lyon, and now it's Michel Kang's show with Olympique Lyonnais. So that was kind of part of what the news was this morning, was Michel Kang taking over and Renato Paiva being dismissed at Botafogo late last night. But now the idea of John Textor resigning, and it's another fine mess you've gotten us into, speaking very Laurel and Hardy-ish this morning. Okay. All right. So we mentioned what's going on with Club World Cup today. It is Inter and Fluminense in Charlotte at 3 o'clock. Manchester City, Al Hilal at the Citrus Bowl at 9 o'clock. Everything's on DAZN. But yeah, Inter Milan, Fluminense, 3 o'clock. Manchester City, Al Hilal at 9 o'clock. So that is going on tonight. Let me check the juice boxes that are attached to these matchups, and we'll let you know what's going on. But yeah, so Bart will come on here beginning of hour number 2 in about 10 minutes. We'll go through all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, plus any of the other news. And there is plenty of other news to get into involving other clubs and things like that. So juice boxes for today. Inter, favored at a minus 141 against Fluminense, who's a plus 429, 90-minute draws a plus 260. Manchester City, Manchester City, no surprise, big favorite at a minus 385 against Al Hilal, who's north of plus 900. And your 90-minute draw is a plus 539. Early numbers, Real Madrid minus 150, Dortmund minus 155 on Tuesday. Then you get to Friday. Palmeiras is an underdog at a plus 280 against Chelsea, who's a plus 104. Enzo Maresca, by the way. Enzo Maresca has decided that he is not a fan of weather delays. So, I'm just going to how am I going to phrase this? Enzo Maresca is not a fan of the weather. Story by Oliver Kay yesterday. So the matchup that we talked about, where Chelsea, they win 4-1 over Benfica. So Enzo Maresca plays suspended for nearly 2 hours, waiting for the weather to pass over Charlotte. So match is held up for 113 minutes. The 6th storm-enforced delay of the tournament and the 3rd hour-plus interruption. Oliver Kay at The Athletic, quoting Maresca said it's a joke. Kept using the words, making clear he didn't see the funny side. Game kicked off at 4, didn't conclude until 8:38 local time in Charlotte. For me, it's not football. This is what Enzo Maresca said. For me, it's not football. It's already 7, 8, 9, even though it was 6, games that they suspended. I can understand that for security or safety reasons, that you are to suspend the game. But if you suspend 7, 8 games, that means that probably it's not the right place to do this competition. Maresca was asked whether by not the right place, he meant Charlotte specifically or the U.S. more widely. No, he said, initially appearing to backtrack before standing his ground. I'm saying that if in this competition they already suspended 6, 7, 8 games, probably there is something that is not working well, because in football, it's not normal to suspend a game. Tournament official social media feed didn't even mention the holdup in the live updates, according to Kay. Maresca went on explaining his frustration that the two teams were left in the dressing room waiting for an update in the way it affected the game. Maresca said, guys, please don't misunderstand me. I said it's a fantastic competition. It's the Club World Cup. It's top. We're happy to be in the last 8, happy to win, all these kinds of things. But something happened, 6, 7 games suspended. It's not normal to suspend a game in a World Cup. How many games are suspended? 0 probably. In Europe, how many games? 0. Kay reminds everybody that Denmark and Germany was interrupted for 24 minutes, 58 minutes at a match between Ukraine and France at the Euro 2012. And then you also had earlier in the tournament Benfica's win over Auckland City in Orlando at 134 minutes. So Maresca referring to the weather delays as a joke. I would remind Coach about player safety. And yes, here in the southeastern United States, the weather this time of year has a tendency late in the afternoon to get a little spicy. But given the choice of playing in a downpour and perhaps having thunder and lightning going on around him versus being as careful with players as possible, I think we should opt for the second. You want all your players to be safe? I would hope so. It's the summer here in this particular part of the world. So I would remind people, I would remind folks about weather and safety and things like that. It's not something to be trifled with. In Atlanta, here at OSG and SDH HQ, we are profoundly blessed to have a building like Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I have a video on my phone from Saturday, I want to say. I think it was Saturday, when it just opened up in the afternoon, and it literally late Saturday night. It was the loudest I had ever heard rain going off of the roof of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I'll see. And what I'll do is I'll see if I can post it and flip it, and I'll run it here in the show. So I would remind coaches that if you're in an open air facility in the summer in the South, this happens. It does. It's not where it's going to be like playing just all over the place, north of the Mason-Dixon line. Look, it happens. So I would remind Coach Maresca about location, time of the year, and where he is. Just a reminder, just a friendly reminder about where you're at. Just saying. Thank you, Ropes, for the note from Fabrizio Romano. We'll get into that discussion as a part of Bart coming up here. It's almost like he was thinking about where we were going. So we will discuss that as a part of Bart Keeler coming up from the Soccer for US POD coming up in just a little bit. Apparently, the French Players Union had comments about the Club World Cup, and it's a chance for everybody to sit there and take shots. I understand, and I think that the Premier League, the FA, the Players Association in England, I think they had some words about it too. Scheduling is always going to be something that folks will sit there and try to put a tent pole in the ground over these kinds of things. But you look at the clubs that come in from overseas, and Chelsea, I think brought 26 players. Enzo Maresca admitted that he was going to be rotating his sides and rotating his squads. When you bring 26 players over, you mix and match and figure out how you want to do it. But when it comes to thunder and lightning very, very frightening me, I would remind Coach Maresca about player safety issues. And if he wants to go down that road, please take that up with his favorite local players union. Morning, Dell. Morning, Abby. Morning, Alex. And Alex says he doesn't think it's necessarily the weather itself, but it's the rules. The whole, if there's lightning within 7 miles, it's 30 minutes. That has been a universal thing here in the States as far back as I can remember, and I don't know why it's 7. And you've got the devices, and you've got all this stuff. Then they did the truncated warm-up of like 7 minutes, and then they hopped back out onto the pitch. So weather issues. So I would have a discussion with Coach Maresca about those kinds of things, and make sure that his players are warming up as best they can. All right, hour number 2, and we know what that means. It means that we're going to have a lot of talk. We got reffing down here. We got moments to get into these kinds of things. Bart is bringing them to the table, so I will be intrigued as to what is on Bart's mind when it comes to reffing down here. Very, very busy weekend on a bunch of different fronts. Women's national team, men's national team, Gold Cup, and as we talked about with Abe Gordon in hour number 1, be careful what you wish for. You might get it. You point your finger at Canada and you go, ha, 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 ha. Wasn't so funny now, was it? Now we bring in Bart Keeler from the SoccerForUSPod. What is up, sir? Oh, you went back to your background.
I did. Sorry.
No worries. No, it's. I've just, I was like, oh, he went back to his background.
We're in the process of not decorating, recalibrating, reconfiguring the office room. Yes. So it's a mess behind me because I'm trying to pile things up that then I throw away. John, I threw away a printer, which first off, the shock is that the millennial here had a printer, but it was old. So we had to get rid of it.
Understood. Absolutely understood. I guess we could kind of start with this. We'll go ahead and go here before we get everything all gassed up for the weekend. So our buddy Fabrizio Romano has come in this morning. Thanks, Ropes. And it appears Malik Tillman to Bayer Leverkusen. Here we go. Verbal in place between all parties involved. Transfer fee of around 35 to 40 million euro total package. Long-term deal agreed with Tillman. Bayern have a buyback clause, but Leverkusen now considers the verbal agreement done. So Malik Tillman to Bayer Leverkusen as a here we go from Fabrizio Romano this morning.
I think this is a potentially great move for Tillman. He has balled out at PSV for a couple of years now. I think the one knock you could have is he obviously got hurt last year, so he didn't have that full season. But he's been really good for PSV, and Leverkusen needs someone to fill the gap of Florian Wirtz, as I'm saying that correctly. I think I'm not a German expert, but his departure leaves a hole in that attacking setup for Leverkusen, and maybe Tillman can fill that. I don't know if he is fully that guy, but I think he can be part of that solution. But hey, good move for him.
Yes, and we like it when there are good moves involving U.S. players with heavy and hefty price tags. To anything and everything. Where would you like to start? You want to start with the women's team? Start with the men's team? You want to start with Gold Cup in general? Where do you want to go?
I want to start actually with a little bit about this weather conversation, because this does fall into reffing down here, John.
Hey, yeah.
And I kind of just want to continue that, because I think first off, this is just another example of the European mind not being able to comprehend anything that's outside of Europe. And, the pearls are clutched because something goes on differently than it does in Europe.
Yes.
Look, I think that there are legitimate concerns about playing a competition where you do have so many delayed games because of weather. What I don't think these people understand is these are not weather delays out of thin air. I mean, actually, they kind of are, because that's how weather appears a lot of times in the U.S. And, it's not going to happen. It's not going to fix itself because you maybe play in New York or Philly. They can have these types of storms just as well. And I think that is a concern, because as a tournament organizer and then as a referee on the field, I'll start kind of locally at that, where for me as a referee at this level, and usually when you're on the field as a referee in this case is very different, like at that pro tournament level. But at my level, I am And I tell my ARs, if we think that there's possible weather coming, hey, be looking at the sky. And if you see something, and I've had to do it many times as an AR, I've had ARs do it for me, you got to put that flag up and let me know. Because the thing that I don't think they understand, and that all of us in this chat in this country understand, is lightning is not something to be tested. And there's a reason electricity was invented here. It's because Benjamin Franklin had free and readily access to lightning. You know, I mean,
Yes.
if the fable goes the way we think it goes. And so that type of volatile weather is just definitely not something they deal with necessarily in Europe. And so they don't understand that the reason we have, you know, I'm not quite sure what their radius is, but ours is at least 5 miles, sometimes up to 10,
7.
because you don't know what that weather can bring. And you don't know how quickly it can shift. You don't know, also with lightning specifically, it can move and start here, but then move, you know, down from the sky. And as a referee, your job first and foremost is player safety. And John, one of the biggest threats to player safety is going to be weather, especially like this. And so I think FIFA and the local organizing committee need to kind of come up with a better plan to deal with it, I think is fair. But the problem is the plan is don't get struck by lightning.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the other plan could just be build $1 billion stadium with a roof on it and you don't have to worry about it. But I am not a multi-billionaire David Tepper, so what do I know?
Yeah. So here's the rundown just for folks for 26 as to what it looks like. Estadio Mexico City, not a roof. MetLife, not a roof. AT&T, roof. G-Ha, not a roof. NRG, roof. Mercedes-Benz, roof. SoFi, roof. Lumen, not a roof, but not really a place for thunderstorm.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Rain, possibly, but even then, not that much.
Right.
So.
Levi's, rain, but not thunderstorms.
Yeah.
The Link, I would defer to Rich Ransom in this case, but I would say rain, maybe heat.
Yeah, I think thunderstorm is a possibility in Philly. They did have a delay, I think, there, but like not as strong a possibility as Charlotte.
Yes. Hard Rock, no roof, but somewhat covered for fans. Gillette, weather, but not maybe necessarily. It is the random thunderstorm.
Yeah.
BC Place covered. Stadio BBVA, I can't think of any weather really that's attached to one today because of altitude. Estadio Akron in Guadalajara, same. BMO, weather, but not thunderstorms.
Right.
So the venues for 26 are there, and kind of, you know, sift your way through them. But remember also that you're dealing with Gold Cup venues in addition to having to host. You're hosting 2 tournaments simultaneously in this country. So you're not getting maybe the venues that you're hunting for, or you're
well, and let's just be frank, John, also. The Gold Cup has not had these issues.
No.
And part of that reason is we're not starting games at noon or 3 p.m.
Correct.
And that is the unfortunate reality of the World Cup is when you have 48 teams, and despite having multiple you're going to be playing it a lot, right? You're going to have multiple time slots. And because, again, the European audience can't dare to stay up late or wake up early, we have to play games in time slots that work for them. You know, personally, I would say you have games at 3, at 6, at 9, and then you have maybe one that is a midnight kickoff because those are your West Coast games. And I know that's crazy, but you know, if it allows you to play some 3 p.m. games in those covered stadiums, right? And then you have, for midnight, you have those kickoffs, which would be 9 local, which is a perfectly acceptable start time, I think, for World Cup matches. Right. Also going to be a lot cooler. Yeah. You know, for maybe the Mexico and specifically California venues.
You'd end up with breakfast in Europe.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is that the worst thing? Is if they have to wake up at 5, 6 p.m. or a.m. to watch the game? We have to do it all the time. So again, I'm just asking the Europeans to understand that, believe it or not, the soccer world does not revolve around you.
What?
And you might have to make some concessions. So I would say you start at 3 and play those games in your domed stadiums. So Atlanta, Dallas, Houston.
Yeah.
Or, you can do those in, and I know it's going to be hot, but Toronto, Boston, you find ways to make those kickoffs work.
Yeah.
Your 6 p.m. can be anywhere, Central or East Coast.
Yeah.
And then your 9 and midnight kicks, which these are my local times, or Eastern times, are more West Coast. And that would just be they need to. This is FIFA's inherent problem, is they think they know how to soccer better than anyone else. And the reality is the people on the ground who have been literally planning tournaments and matches throughout these countries kind of do know better, and they need to have some input in that, because if not, you are going to deal with some rain delays. I mean, we do have delays in MLS, right? We're aware of that. We do have times where a thunderstorm rolls through. I do think with a lot of the 7:30 kicks, we haven't had that many, and we know why. It's because usually that weather has rolled through. So anyway, point is, as a referee, as a tournament organizer, you are beholden to laws of both physics and nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think FIFA needs to try to do a little bit better to respect those laws of physics and nature.
Yes. So, because as we all know, there are two folks undefeated, and it's Father Time and Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, where would you like to go first? Women's national team?
Let's start women's national team, because it's the least to talk about, but is probably the most fun to talk about. So,
All right. All right. So, it was a couple of friendlies, and they basically TCB'd their way through them both.
Yeah, look, I think Ireland is a decent enough opponent where you have to try, but you don't have to try too hard, which gives Emma a lot of opportunities to try out some new faces. And I think that was really the best part of what we saw was especially a player like Jordan Bugg, who I thought she played really well in the couple times. She played most of the match yesterday, got an appearance on Thursday. I thought that was really positive. I think some of the others maybe not great, but what I saw specifically yesterday with the much more experimental lineup, I think is fair to say. Yeah. Certainly with a lot of players that haven't played before, there is a lot of talent and ability, but they have to learn what it means to play at the international speed, because they were a little slow. And it felt like times they were playing at 0.5 speed, 0.75 speed. And they just need to pick up that tempo. And they need to figure out how to play quicker, especially a lot of times they were getting caught on the turn, or they weren't passing the ball quick enough, because Ireland is a good team. Those gaps close quickly, right? And that is what I saw yesterday. But then you bring on players like Alyssa Thompson and that tempo, that speed gets increased. And so I think that's a learning curve. But the fact that you still put together a 4-0 win, despite, again, playing a little bit on the slow side, is probably the best takeaway. Is there's still a lot of very good talent out there.
Yeah, and the number that was posted, all 11 starters on Sunday play in the NWSL.
Yes.
77th time that had occurred in a USWNT starting 11, the first time since January of 23. So you're talking 2.5 years since the last time you had all NWSL starting 11, just so folks know what the starting 11 was. In net, you had Mandy McGlynn from Utah. Defense, Emily Sams, Orlando, her 5th cap. Jordan Bugg's 2nd cap from Seattle. Tara McEwen, Washington Spirit, number 7th cap. Izzy Rodriguez, her 1st cap, and for her from Kansas City Current. Midfield, Sam Meza, 1st cap ever, Seattle. Croy Bethune, 4th cap, Washington Spirit. Olivia Moultrie.
Where's she from, though?
I believe it would be from here.
From here.
Olivia Moultrie, Portland, 9th cap. Forwards, Emma Sears, Racing Louisville, her 7th. Lynn Biendolo, her 82nd. Yasmin Ryan, her 11th. Subs, Sam Coffey from Portland. Allie Sentner from Utah. Claire Hutton from Kansas City. Alyssa Thompson, Angel City. Rose Lavelle, Gotham. So that's what you're staring at. Izzy Rodriguez becomes the 24th player to score on her USWNT debut. first to do so as a starter since Kristen Press scored against Scotland in 2013.
Yeah. Again, I thought this lineup was interesting for a couple things. One, this is the first time we've seen Emma really trot out a true 3-back system. Obviously, she's put 4 defenders out there a lot of times, but kind of had someone stay home. This was a true, those are all 3 center backs. I thought Emily Sam struggled a little bit, which goes against my agenda that she should be starting next to Naomi Girma. But, she was playing as a right center back. It was a little bit different. I think Tara McCune is still not. She's just not there for me yet, and maybe I'm not seeing it. I know her passing is pretty decent, but again, it's just not the defensive solidity that I think we might want. But then I also, see that midfield was very inexperienced. Even if you want to talk about Moultrie, who has, she's got 17 years of experience in professional soccer at the age of 17. It just felt like it wasn't quite as quick as it needed to be. They were not moving off the ball as sharply as they needed. But again, you kept a clean sheet. You got 4 goals. And congrats to Izzy for getting her first goal. It wasn't like she had to do a whole lot, but I'll just say that the finish itself was great. Great little volley there. And the fact that she was there in position to clean up after, a good build-up play that then got spoiled is the positive, because the U.S. is going to create a lot of opportunities, a lot of chances, and you need your kind of Sam Coffey-esque midfielders, which is what Izzy was kind of doing in this game, being in and around the top of the box, ready for to clean up the trash, and that was good to see. You bring on the subs, John, and look, Alyssa Thompson is, she might be the starter now. And I know we have the obvious caveat that Triple Espresso is not here. Obviously, some of the other European players on here, specifically like Kat Macario, not here. I think it's possible that Alyssa Thompson has supplanted Mal Swanson, on that, and possibly even Soph Smith, that she's going to play in. I think she has worked herself into the starting position.
Okay, a couple of thoughts from David that I wanted to have you address. Still struggling to see what Ali Sentner brings offside a lot. Seems like an Hatch type, finds ways to get goals, but against tougher competition gets lost. Thompson's a real deal. She can fill a triple espresso shoe.
Yeah, I think Sentner is one of those where, is she in the conversation if everyone is healthy? She might not be on that roster, right? Because if you're looking at, again, at 2027, you hopefully have back Sam Wilson, or Soph Wilson, Mal Swanson, maybe Trinity is back healthy. Those are 3 that we're talking about, the triple espresso. So that puts a player like, who I think has been good, Yasmin Ryan down the list, obviously Trinity, or Alyssa Thompson down the list. That's 5 wingers right there. Are you bringing Sentner as a 6th winger when you also want to bring in a Kat Macario and possibly a Jaden Shaw as an attacker? I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that is the question for Sentner. She's kind of playing to just be part of that winger group. At the same time, I think Sentner is good enough and learning enough. And again, we have 2 years into the World Cup, so that's really what we're building toward here. We have a year and a half until qualifiers, which is, I ranted about that on Twitter the other day. That's what we're building towards. So if she's not great now, but you can see sparks of it, I'm fine with keeping her, because she's going to score a goal. She loves to score a banger, and I'm here for that. And I think we need to, if you're telling me, David, that hey, Sentner is on the bench because if you need a goal in the 75th minute on, I love it, because she's going to try to score. And that, you have to have those types of players in your team. But again, is she top 5 winger if everyone's healthy? I don't know. But, to say that the girl isn't better than, automatically replacing Soph or Mal or Trin isn't a knock on her.
Yep. And then the follow-up on McEwen, line splitting passes, terrible. Short passes, defending. She concerns me long-term as a defender.
That's 100% it. I mean, I think her passing accuracy and line-breaking passes is very good, but I don't think she's a good enough 1v1 defender or in-space defender to really be relied upon, and that's kind of the concern. But again, Jordan Budd getting a debut is great. I think she looked pretty good. And again, we're talking 2025, John. We do not have to win meaningful games until November 2026, right? And even then, you talk about group stage of a CONCACAF W championship. It's not like we just have to make sure we win our group or get out of our group in that tournament. So I'm not super worried. But for me, McCowan is just dropping down the list every time I see her play because I agree her defensive solidity is just not there.
Hey, Jarrett.
Good morning.
Where it is 8:20.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And so, yeah, it is the 10 o'clock hour on a Monday, and we have blown through our women's national team discussion so we can talk about the men's national team and how much fun they are to watch in the Gold Cup.
Honestly,
Well, John,
it's fine for me because, again, it's 2 hours behind. So, like, those 7 p.m. primetime games are 5 o'clock for me. Like, that's like, we're going to go grab a bite to eat, sit outside, and watch the game.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's what I want to know, Jarrett. You're watching these on tape delay, basically. But, like, how does that feel?
Because what's happening?
You're watching this. I mean, some of these Club World Cup games, you're still eating breakfast.
Yeah, it's great. Again, highly recommended. Also, like Wednesday night, I was done with Atlanta United at 9:30. This is fine, or not 9:30, but 7:30.
Yeah.
I was done at 7:30, and I was like, "Well, I still got time to catch a movie. I want to. This is great."
Yeah, you see how he's wired in the Mountain Time Zone.
I love it for him.
So.
It's great out here, actually. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Everyone lied to us about coming out here, first of all. Plenty of good restaurants, plenty of like diverse restaurants that are tasty and that are not just bland nothingness. And plenty of fun things to do. So yeah, I feel like I was lied to by a bunch of people who just watched Bravo and watched one trash-ass reality TV show and decided to build their entire existence on an entire city based on one trash-ass show instead of experiencing a place. God forbid we ever go outside and experience the world outside of our own front door.
You mean a trash TV show based on people who live in tax brackets we'll never imagine?
Never imagine. Not even getting close to Bart. But it did give me a fun thing yesterday where, go grab lunch and watch Jesse Marsh fall into an open manhole cover. Because there are few things I enjoy more than watching Jesse Marsh fall into an open manhole cover after spending over a year being this trolling ass try hard who is absolutely, and look, the U.S. national team deserves to be trolled and ridiculed at plenty of times. It does a lot of things to deserve that 1,000%. Bart, John, and I have sat here and done that many times and lamented the men's national team's entire existence. But Jesse Marsh sitting over here for the last, since he didn't get hired for the job, sitting in the corner firing off one-liners like the guy who got turned down by the girl going to prom and then decided to make it his entire personality to troll that girl.
So Jared, you mean to discuss this particular moment that happened yesterday, courtesy of our friends at Tudene? Provided it hits the...
Vendrá la orden y el disparo, la palicazo. Sí, reventó el palo, la esperanza Chapín con este disparo y el boleto, Morales. Guatemala,
call, and I will say this once again, thanks to our friends at 2DNA for that.
Shout out to USL legend Rubio Rubin too.
Yes. The whole call of the tail end, like the last 3 minutes, 2DNA posted the full 3 minutes. And it's moments like that that are universal. And that's why I pulled like that 40-second clip. Because you literally have play-by-play guys crying in the booth as Guatemala makes it to the semis for the first time in 29 years. That was a fun listen and a fun watch to see their reactions. And when the goal was scored, and we'll get back to Schaffelberg, I guess, as a part of reffing down here, you get the moment with the equalizer. From that moment on, with 30 minutes to go, going through PKs, the 2-NA broadcast was off the rails. I mean, it was yelling and screaming and crying as it should have been. It was great. It was a great watch. And, yes, I felt compelled to pull that last 40 seconds. So much for that date, huh, Bart?
But, I mean, listen, we were supposed to get a doubleheader USA-Canada on Wednesday, and lo and behold, Jesse Marsh screwed it up. And, listen,
Sir, yes.
So I don't know where to start with this, John. I want to just bring up the fact that I sent John a text like after they lost in this of a meme basically, but it's, as Jarrett alluded to before the tournament, he was talking mad crap about how none of his players turned down a call. The quote is, "Not one guy called me and said, 'Coach, I don't know. It's been a long year. Maybe I don't come to the Gold Cup.'" And then after the match, John, he says, "If I'm honest, we're missing half our group."
Mm-hmm.
Well, buddy, which one is it? Because that's the problem, is if you want to go bravado and macho and bodacious, you can't get knocked out in the quarterfinal again, by the way, because you did it last time as well. And that's the thing here, Canada, is you talk all this crap and you have yet to back it up. Not once have you actually backed up any real trash talk. You claimed the stupid little made-up trophy you had of winning the group in World Cup qualification. What happened to you in 2022? So why don't you sit down and be humble for a second? I'm sorry to pull out a Erling Haaland reference, but holy cow, go do something before you start talking all this crap.
And so Jacob Schaffelberg, with a 1-0 lead, Schaffelberg is given his second yellow early second half, and we're talking 49th minute. And I've been looking at it a couple of times, and I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, is this incidental contact? Is this elbow and forearm up? What are you looking at with this?
I mean, I think this definitely falls under the idea of a reckless foul. I'm going to just be honest. He's late. He is going in at a speed that is dangerous and very much looks like a guy who is not concerned with the health and safety of the player he's playing against, right? I can see why this is a reckless foul, and that therefore it's a yellow card. I'm sorry, this is going to color my analysis on this a little bit, but this is not new for Jacob Schaffelberg. The dude is not exactly a nice player, and he's been known to do over-the-top fouls,
You're about to say the word stupid.
Yeah, I don't want to call it stupid, but it's over the top. It's unnecessary. It's intentionally reckless, and I think that's the problem he got himself into when he, committed a yellow card foul in the first half. So, I think it's fair to say that Canada got a little. I don't think either yellow card is like, oh wow, that's a yellow card. But they were both reckless fouls that he did with pretty much full intent. And, we don't judge intent on that, but looking at how fast he was running and how little he tried to slow down. And then, it does maybe look like he tries to throw a shoulder or a forearm into the guy's at least chest, if not his throat area.
Right.
I don't have any sympathy for you. Sorry, don't do this, and you won't have to worry about being in position to get a second yellow card. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And so Schaffelberg ends up getting the second yellow. Canada is down to 10. They hang on for a while. Then for the final 30, it was chaos personified.
Mm-hmm.
Jarrett, I mean, I know that you, let's see. So if Jarrett was watching Canada and Guatemala, I mean, shoot, it's middle of the afternoon for you watching this one, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's great. Again, 10 out of 10. Highly would recommend. Live your best life.
Yes.
Because Jesse Marsh trying to.
Yes. And
not always succeeding, but he's trying.
No.
I don't know, man. Like you, and this one goes out to also to the people who keep up with England better. It seems like there comes a point in the Jesse Marsh experience where people get tired of it.
Yeah, I mean,
where it wears thin.
Half-life, yeah.
I don't know where that Rubicon is. I don't know where it exists.
Well,
But it
Jared,
seems like
based on the conversations I had on TSN last night, they might be approaching it.
Wow.
But we had it at Leeds. We've had it in other stops. But yeah, it feels like there is this point where it starts to, like, the antics start to wear thin. And yeah, you want to sit there and troll the U.S. men's national team. Again, we do it all the time. And this is, we can get into the U.S. national team talk in just a minute because they showed cojones last night. I'll give them that. But
They also showed some stupidity last night.
Oh, they showed a lot of that. ¿Por qué no los dos?
Yes.
But yeah, man, like, this is the thing is Canada is also, as much as we talk about in I think it was Taylor Twellman did the whole thing of like, I'm as guilty as anybody about calling it the golden generation. I think it was him. It might have been Alexei.
Sure.
But
same mouthpiece, different mouth.
But Canada's also in that conversation. Canada is also supposed to be in their golden generation.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan David is worth more than Guatemala's roster, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say Guatemala's roster is terrible. It's to say that Jonathan David is a special talent.
Yeah. And
yeah, Canada's crowning achievement with this quote-unquote golden generation so far is winning the Octagon, which doesn't put hardware in your trophy category.
Well, they tried.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like it's like getting yourself a special ring because you know, it's like we went and got rings made because we won, the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah.
Not to besmirch the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl.
I mean, come on.
But you're supposed to be in your golden generation too, and you haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
As much as we talk about the U.S. kind of giving those away and having, psychological issues and having a soft team mentally so often, Canada can't get over the hump either, man. Mm-hmm. And to your point, yeah, it feels like it might be wearing thin, bud.
It just is one of those situations where I think it's fair to say that they did not have their first choice guys, right? I think that is okay to say. One of those first choice guys was unavailable because, Jesse, you heard him.
Yep.
And bro, that's on you. But you still had your first choice starting striker. You had, if not your first choice winger, you had players who are way more first choice, if you will, than what the U.S. has at its availability for this particular tournament. I think it's also fair to say Canada does not have the depth the U.S. has, and that's, I think, absolutely true. But you have Jonathan David.
Mm-hmm.
We have Patrick Aguimang.
Yeah.
So,
Big Pat might be heading to the either the championship or the low level of Premier League.
Hey, listen, if I'm Charlotte, I'm taking that money ASAP because
you've taken it running.
This idea that we're gonna wait for the right offer, bro, you ain't gonna get money from him after this year. Just saying.
Well,
the weird thing is, I really liked what he did last year. Like, it hasn't translated over. Like I thought he was going to jump this year. Like I thought he was
Jared,
going to
I
be
have
one
a
of those
question
guys.
for you because
Yes.
I'm with you. People have been saying, "Oh, well, Brandon Vasquez hasn't had a good year either." Okay, Brandon Vasquez has scored one less goal and has more assists than Aguiman. So where are we trying to like?
I don't
And
know how much,
arguably, he's on a worse team right now.
and I don't know how much people watch Austin. Every time I've watched them, I've watched that dude leave like 2 goals on the field a game. It's amazing.
Fair.
Yeah.
When he played us, obviously.
News out of Charlotte, by the way, from our buddy Willie P. Pep BL has signed an extension on his loan through the end of the 25 season.
Okay, great.
Performance
you know what an extension's not? It's not a full-time deal. And if you do not, Charlotte, you have look. Considering we are based in Atlanta, I know the idea is throwing rocks in glass houses when Atlanta's house is basically made of a Fabergé egg at this point. Charlotte, this is a hell of a bag fumble if you do not lock this man down, because a lot of what you do has hinged on him being absolutely brilliant.
According to Willie P., deal has performance incentives that will trigger a purchase option for 26 based on the salary. It seems it would make him a DP. So
yeah,
Yeah,
he's a DP
I'm with
quality
you.
10 for them.
Yeah.
I'm with you though, Jarrett. I think Charlotte's entire makeup is BL being good and Kalina saving your ass on a game by game basis.
I mean,
It's not the worst strategy in MLS, but
no, but I've told Jason and I talked about this before, and I've told him, I said the second Kalina stops performing above expectations, Charlotte has problems. And hey, I don't know if anybody's seen. Charlotte has been like shipping goals in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like ever since they were top of the East, they just went into a spiral, and now they are sitting there. I think they are at the last playoff spot or second to last playoff spot right now. This is not like, this is a completely separate conversation from the fact that Atlanta it belongs in a psychological ward right now.
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
in the month of May, they gave up 3 or more goals in all but 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
No, 2 games. They gave up 4 goals in 3 games, 5 games. Holy cow! Yeah, you're right. I didn't put that together there, Jarrett. I was enjoying their slide after being at the top of the East, but holy cow, they are. You're right.
The only difference, you want to know something? If you want to break it down numbers, Bart, the only difference between Charlotte and Atlanta in the this last week is that Charlotte found a second goal in the second half, and Emmanuel Latte-Lot missed a 1-on-1. Which is another conversation about guys not performing to the $20+ million you paid for them.
Maybe not paying $20+ million for a dude for the championship.
Charlotte, by the way,
I still maintain Joveljic was right there, guys. Doing great in Kansas City.
Yeah, Charlotte, by the way, is 3 points out of the playoffs. They're 10th at 25.
Love to see it.
But the only difference between what it like, because Charlotte gave up 3 ugly first half goals to Chicago. The only difference between them and Atlanta is that Atlanta only found 1 goal in the second half when Game State basically allowed them to just cook.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Charlotte found 2.
Yes. Bart, I know the original.
Can I get a last thought on the Canada Guatemala game?
Sure. Before we go into the game, yeah.
Before we go into so this is not besmirching the great Brad Guzan, but I think we all know that the writing is on the wall that this will be his final year playing for Atlanta. I felt like the Guatemalan goalkeeper might be a dude that we could probably get for hella cheap, and why not just see what he can do. if you bring him in as at least a guy competing for the spot, I think it might be fun. That's all I'm saying.
And I know that Jarrett will bring JT.
Jalen Hibbert erasure, but okay.
Yes. Yeah.
No. I'm not erasing him. I'm saying if you're three
fine.
next year
I'm just having fun with you.
are Cohen, Hibbert, and Navarro.
I don't know. Everybody wanted to tell me that Cohen was like the be all end all when he got here, when we hadn't seen him perform. And it's this thing that we do in Atlanta, and it pisses me off to no end because we did it with Eric Lopez. Is like the poster child of this is people like to crown somebody without ever seeing them play. And set these, and in doing so, what you end up doing is setting these incredibly unrealistic expectations, where a guy really can only fail unless he turns into Joseph.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, I'll tell you that. I mean, I think Cohen was overhyped, but I think it was more of a please someone save us from Brad Guzan, and that's just the reality of the mentality at that point in time. But I agree.
Coming off a blown Achilles.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to all of us,
fair to Brad, he's coming off a blown Achilles, and he's almost 40 years old.
Yeah, you didn't know. But the real guy that I would want from CONCACAF is Orlando Mosqueda from Panama, but he's playing in the Saudi League, and I don't know what he's actually making, and who knows if he's actually reporting what they're actually making on a real level. So, who knows? But I don't know. The Navarro guy impressed me last night to the point of, hey, Atlanta, we need a goalkeeper next year. Let's at least give. I don't imagine he's making a ton of money down there in. I think he's playing in Guatemala. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting question that Atlanta's going to have to address, though, because you have, to your point, like you have a goalkeeper who is probably in his swan song right now. And then you have Donaldson, who's incredibly good but incredibly raw, and a teenager.
John O'Ransom.
Hibbert,
John O'Ransom.
You have John O'Ransom, who is in the same category, a little bit older, but still very raw youth national team goalkeeper.
Yep.
Hibbert's ceiling is, I think, incredibly high. And maybe you ride with that. But you have those guys. Do you go get... I guess my question is, do you go get someone and do kind of what Columbus did with Eloy Room a couple of years ago, where, hey, I'm going to bring you in, you're in your prime, maybe a little late in your prime, see what you can give me for 3 or 4 years, and then I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the key to winning in MLS is having a goalkeeper who can save your butt a few times a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're going to, look, we know this league is not known for its defensive stability, and I think volatility would be the best way to describe MLS. Having a goalkeeper who can save your butt a few times a game is probably a good idea.
Ineptitude also would not be the worst thing to call it.
Yes.
Defensively.
Yes. Okay. So are we locked into the notion, at least for today, that Matt Freese is your number one keeper for the U.S. men's national team?
No, but because no one's the number one right now. But I will say that he did make up for what he did in the that final group stage match. I mean, look, it was a bad moment, a bad pass. I still maintain I don't think Tim Ream should have passed him the ball.
Tim Ream put him in a bad spot.
Yes, but he made up for it. He also can. I don't know if he's to blame. Jared, I'd love your opinion on this. That goal we conceded in the second half. A lot of people I saw saying, "Oh, well, Freese has got to do better there." I don't know, man. He took a shot from like 4 yards away and blocked it. Like I yes, you should maybe not put it in the penalty area, like right in front of your goal mouth. But I don't know. I felt like that was a little harsh to be like, "Hey, your two defenders get split." And a guy runs in and takes a shot from 4 yards away from you, and how dare you not catch it? I don't know. But penalty kick performance was great.
Yeah, I agree with you in that, like, I think it's one of those things where, like, we do this. It's one of my favorite unhinged things we do in sports. We do the same thing in baseball where it's like, oh, why didn't he just turn on that fastball that was coming in at 98 miles an hour that had like late life to it?
Yeah.
Like he makes the save. Like ideally, you would love to see him turn that deflection towards the inline more. He's also getting shot at from like 4 meters away. At like the dude puts his laces through it from like 4 meters away.
Yeah.
And that's not easy for anyone to deal with.
No.
Especially mortals who don't see like that in practice literally every day like professionals do. I would prefer my I would prefer my defenders not get split, including my fullback who was sloppy on both goals, gave up a penalty, then got split like he was the Gates at a Super G event in the Winter Olympics. And then, yeah, I mean, ideally, yeah, I would love to see him turn that deflection towards the inline. But at that pace, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he sucks because he didn't, like, turn it super quick. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
And I'll further say that, and look, goalkeeper union here, we're talking about it. But the guy who scored ran past about 2 defenders, and no one picked him up. So
yes.
That's another thing.
I mean,
also think about the movie Mighty Ducks 3 when they go to the prep school and Gordon Bombay leaves and the new coach comes in and teaches them about cleaning up the trash and making sure that you get the puck / ball out of the danger zone.
Yep.
And they didn't do that.
They did.
Yeah. Okay, so the lineup. Well, actually, you get goals from Luna and Arvston 4 minutes apart. Francisco Calvo, who, why do I have a moment with a garbage can in his time at Minnesota United stuck in my head? 32,000 plus. They did not open the top level at US Bank, but they played it indoors at US Bank. North of 32,000 were there. Matt Freese got the start. Defense, Alex Freeman, Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Max Arvston. Midfield, Berhalter, Tillman, Tyler Adams, Diego Luna, Luca De La Torre. And it was Big Pat up top to start. Your subs, Damian Downs, John Tolkien, and no ratings from our friends at Soccer America just because it was a cup of coffee for Jack McGlynn and Brian White. U.S. remains unbeaten against Costa Rica in the Gold Cup, 7-1-1, which means they now face Guatemala Wednesday night at the Pink Stadium in St. Louis.
I got a wild hair in me last night saying, oh, should we drive up there? That's not going to happen. I don't want to drive 8.5 hours to St. Louis on a Wednesday. But
No.
I do want to talk, Jarrett mentioned it, because if you look at the ratings on FOTMob, and I'm sure others, Arvston is man of the match, right? Because he got an assist, technically.
Right.
And he scores the goal. But Jarrett, man, the first goal, look, it's a naive challenge. He doesn't need to make it, but I think it's indicative of he's not a good defender. He's just straight up not a good defender. He's not.
Correct.
He is. I don't know why he's making that challenge there and why he feels like he needs to lunge. Just whatever. The second goal is just straight up bad. It's not the first time that he has just let a dude walk by him with the ball. And it's a problem. So if you want to give praise for, oh, well, he got an assist and a goal, but not recognize that he is also he had 4 goal involvements, which is a great game for most people, but probably not the way he wanted it to go.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, he was involved in 4 goals.
Yes, that's a way to phrase it.
Especially the second goal. Like the first goal, the penalty kick is. They're coming for me, John.
Are you okay, sir?
No,
It's the
I'm
U.S.
fine.
National Team Police.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's probably, again, I live next door to I live across the street from a senior living apartment complex. And unfortunately, we get some visits from the fire department daily. Anyway, when you look at Arvston, you are looking at a guy who I think it's fair to say is not a true left back, which again begs the question of why he's playing left back so religiously in this tournament, it feels like. He's not a great defender. He just isn't. And again, I think my problem with him continues to be his the volume of play that goes through him that doesn't really lead to anywhere is frustrating. The assist he gets to Diego Luna, it's not an assist, but I mean, he doesn't exactly give Luna a great pass to then set up a shot. Luna has to kind of work some of his magic to get a shot off that, then you add the fact that it was deflected. It was on frame. I still think maybe, he scores anyway. But look, if you're going to give that an assist, fine. But you've got to ding him for the multiple just bad defensive errors he's made in this game and throughout the tournament. And I don't understand why Pochettino loves him so much, except for maybe he thinks he's the most like for Jedi in this group. But I just go back to the fact that, bro, you did not have to pick him. There are other left backs who exist.
These are unforced errors.
Right. And if you're telling me, you're going to sit here and tell me that Caleb Wiley isn't good enough or is somehow behind Max Arston right now, then I'm going to call you crazy.
I don't know, man. He was behind John Tolkien, who
also hasn't looked. Yeah, I don't understand why the U.S. program is just not.
Okay, I swear to God, it's this thing we do where like certain guys come out of certain academies and they get the push nationally. It's like a WWE thing. It's like some guys, like during the Vince McMahon era, it is just some dudes get the push and then some dudes do not. Tolkien came out of Red Bull's academy. Everyone fawns over Red Bull's academy, more so a couple of years ago than right now. But like Tolkien came out of there, you'd have thought he could do no wrong. Sam Vines came out of Colorado, you'd have thought he could do no wrong. Some dudes just get that push from the local and national media in this country, and for me, it's really hard to figure out how that gets decided because some of those guys that live up to the hype. Looking at you, Alfonso Davies, you're brilliant. We love you. Get healthy. We miss you. But some dudes just like Fines just kind of petered out. Bello petered out, although Bello's, I think, trying to rebuild his career.
I actually think Bello is another option that could have been considered. I think he has rebuilt his career in a league that's at least comparable to MLS.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Austrian league is better than MLS. That's untrue, but comparable.
George Bello needs playing time and consistent playing time.
Yeah,
I agree.
You know who else needs consistent playing time or they're not going to see the field? Matt Turner just signed to go play for a team that's getting relegated to the second division of France after being at multiple clubs where he wasn't getting consistent minutes. And look, he's no longer the U.S. number one.
Matt Turner is an interesting one, Jared, because I agree. I actually think this is a good move for him because Lyon should still be able to assemble a team that is going to do quite well in Ligue 2.
Assuming they can pay them, sure. But at this point, they're owned by the same guy who owes Atlanta United $20+ million.
I think Textor's going to end up having to sell Lyon. He's just going to be stuck with Botafogo.
Textor's going to end up disappearing because of the Barra Brava in Brazil because the one thing you don't do is screw over those Brazilian clubs. Looking at you, Textor, and I'm looking at you, Foster Gillette.
Yeah, I think Textor is going to end up having to sell Lyon by the end of the summer, which actually is a pretty decent buy if you're someone looking to buy a soccer team because
Michelle Kang will do it on pennies on the dollar and it'll be run the right way.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if she wants to get into men's soccer that way. She might be able to find someone who she knows to come in and step in and buy that. But I think that though underlines the problem right now with the U.S. And this is where, when you look beyond this game, because you can look at this game and go, this felt good. You beat Costa Rica, historically pretty decent team in CONCACAF. You beat them in a Gold Cup knockout game. The penalty kick shootout was fun, but this game and this tournament does not matter in the grand scheme of things unless you find a guy or two who can help you come next summer. And that continues to be the question. I think there are exactly 3 guys on this roster who have kind of played themselves into that spot. One of those is Matt Freese now because look, I'm not saying Matt Freese is the number one, But I agree with Jarrett that Matt Turner is no longer the number one in the sense that, like, I think it's fair to say that no one holds that title right now. It is a very open competition.
Right.
And Freeze did himself a lot of good in this game to save 3. Do you know how hard it is to save a penalty kick in today's game, let alone 3? And
Dude, he guessed right on the ones he didn't save.
He guessed wrong on 1, right? He faced a total of 7 penalty kicks in this game. Yeah, because we went through 6 and he had the 1 in the game. Guessed right on 6 of the 7.
Mm-hmm.
Got hands to 5 of the 7. Because he got a hand on the 1 in the game. He got a hand on one of the other ones in the penalty kick shootout. Just couldn't keep it out because it was hit too hard. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. And it is hard to save a penalty kick in today's age where you have so many restrictions on you.
38-year-old Keeler Navas also was like, it was a great shootout from a goalkeeper's
we should go sign
perspective.
Keeler Navas. That's he's got 4 years left in him according to
He's
Atlanta
38 now.
strategy.
Yeah, well, like there's a couple in that shootout where I told the SDH crew, there's a couple in that shootout where I went like, man, 3 years, and I told another friend of mine who's living in Costa Rica, and I was like, 3 years ago, Keeler Navas saves 2 or 3 more of those.
Yeah.
He's just 38 now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing shootout from a goalkeeper's perspective because, Freeze was amazing. Keeler Navas was great and almost like mental terrorist level, like Tim Melia in his prime. When Tim Melia, if you ever watched like Kansas City in shootouts, it was kind of a foregone conclusion Tim Melia was going to save at least 2 because he was just so good. But he was also emotionally crippling every striker who stepped up. It was great.
Yes.
Yeah. I do want to, if we want to run through the team, you said Soccer America didn't put out rankings, or they did?
No, they did. I was just blowing through. I was just blowing through the whole.
I want to talk because there are some individual performances in this game that stand out and need to be talked about because this is the time of the tournament where you need to start standing out.
All right, hit me.
Well, you got the Soccer America rankings.
Okay, so
right?
Freeze gets an 8. Alex Freeman a 5, Chris Richards a 6, Tim Ream a 4, Max Arfston a 6.
See, this is going to bother me. Why is Arfston getting a 6? Is it because he scored? Because defensively he was bad the rest of the game. I mean, that's just the reality. And we don't need to give him points for scoring a goal when we don't recognize the fact that he is at fault for 2 other goals. And
so Costa Rica,
there's nothing that we love in this country more than when we have found a player that we've decided is like game-changing and worthy of our time and emotional investment. There's nothing we love in this country more than hyping up that player, getting excited when they do great things, and dismissing anything that they do that is bad. And it is not unanimously applied to players across the board.
It's just, again, I think the problem for me is Max Arfston to me does not translate above this level. That's it.
I agree with you. If you told me you brought him as like emergency depth, I'm fine with that. Like you told me you brought him to the World Cup because we have hey, I need someone who can play back there, and you are like my 5th guy on the bench, and I need a warm body out there. Maybe he'll do something.
So Costa Rica put left back Max Arfston under pressure early after he blocked a cross at the edge of the penalty area, turned around with a wild swing that whacked down Kenneth Vargas. Calvo buried the penalty kick. Arfston then redeemed himself fantastically by assisting on Diego Luna's equalizer, scoring the goal.
No, he did not. Sorry, John, stop. He crossed a ball blindly to the area that happened to find Diego Luna, caused Diego Luna to have to turn away from goal.
Diego Luna just happens to be him.
Right. So I'm sorry. I'm not falling for that propaganda because this is like, I think, no offense to Alexi, because he should have had about 17 other assists, but like there's been a couple of times where Alexi just happened to pass the ball to a dude. No, it was last year. I remember this last year. Alexi hit a banger of a left foot shot, and Brooks Lennon got the assist because he just like passed the ball 3 yards to him. It's like, y'all, that is.
Never forget the fact that the last Miguel Almiron goal for Atlanta United was actually Brooks Lennon shooting a ball so poorly that it looked like a perfect pass.
Right.
To the point
Right.
where I was convinced he hit it so perfectly and threaded the needle.
Oh, what did Jarrett do? I'm guessing somebody.
I was convinced it was actually
Yeah.
a pass, and it wasn't.
Look, I'm just saying, calling that a brilliant assist is wrong. But continue.
And then the wrap on Arston. Day took another downturn though, and Mora beat him to set up Costa Rica's second goal 2-2. So that was that's your defense. Midfielders: Berhalter a 6, Malik Tillman a 7, Tyler Adams a 6, Diego Luna a 7, De La Torre a 6, and Jared apparently was. Hang on, So go for it. Yeah.
Say those
again. Somebody like spam called me and nuked my connection. Go through those numbers again, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
Midfield: Berhalter a 6, Malik Tillman a 7, Tyler Adams a 6, Diego Luna a 7, De La Torre a 6.
Okay.
Malik Tillman, by the way, suffered 6 fouls in the.
Malik Tillman was good. Malik Tillman almost won you the game in the 80s. He got a ball laid off to him. He damn near put in the upper 90.
Malik Tillman deserves an 8 in this game. And I think part of that, Jarrett, you said, look, he caused a lot of problems. He got the assist on Arston's goal, which again, it's not like he did a whole lot, but he did. I'm not going to ding him too bad for the missed penalty. And here's why. He hit post and had Navas beat, he just put it, 3 inches too wide and hit the post. He still missed it. I don't argue that, but that man was the focal point of everything Costa Rica tried to do defensively and was still causing them hell. And Diego Luna deserves an 8 because Diego Luna can do no wrong in my eyes. So that's my bias.
Thank God they kept Diego Luna. Thank God. Because there was a minute there where I wasn't sure they were going to do it. And Diego Luna was going to go to Mexico. And Diego Luna was going to score a brace against the United States in a Gold Cup.
He would have been their next Cuauhtémoc Blanco of just this little dude who wreaks havoc on everyone because he he wants it more than anyone else. But I think those are incredibly low ratings for Luna and Tillman. That's all. Richards got a low rating as well, by the way. I thought Richards had a great game, and giving him a 6 is a little. That's weird.
I don't want Diego Luna to get a move soon because I'm going to be living 15 minutes away from Rio Tinto. And I want to go enjoy watching him while I can. Give me another year to enjoy this. Because I don't know if Pablo Mastroeni's going to survive the year at RSL. They're actually 5 unbeaten now, but
they've turned it around a little bit. Yeah,
they have. They also need ownership to spend more money.
Yes, that is also true. Let's see. Forwards, Big Pat got a 6.
Okay, sure. All right, fine. We're gonna hype again. We're hyping. We just chose Pat to hype up for no reason other than we think that he should be hyped up.
I was about to say, we literally just talked about this.
Yep.
Every time I talk about him, I feel like I'm dumping on him because I have nothing against the man personally. He seems like a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't do soccer well.
No. I can't tell if it's the system in Charlotte or what, because he burns up MLS Next Pro. He burns it to the ground. He does exactly what he should do. He burns MLS Next Pro to the ground and salts the earth 2 years ago. Great job. Did exactly what he should have done. Got his chance with Charlotte, and then showed those flashes where you're like, oh, he is big. He is fast. In the right system, he could be an absolute problem. I don't know if it's Dean Smith's system or what, or if it's just a disconnect with him and BL and Zaha, who is also kind of been this year. It just, it hadn't been there, but I expected him to be more. I expected this to be his Daryl DK year. Yeah. When DK was in Orlando before he went to England.
Jarrett, that is what people wanted, is the next Daryl DK. And DK, I think, is a perfect corollary because, unfortunately for him, his lack of realization is just down to being hurt every week. But you could see DK had just better soccer ability, and that's what I'm not buying that from Agamong, and I'm not I'm trying to be measured about it, but it's just like he doesn't really even use his body to gain the leverage that he needs to all that much either.
And that's the thing that, for me, I am disappointed in where Pat Agyemang is concerned. I think that the Dean Smith system, I think has slowed his growth as a power forward, and you see the frustration with Zaha. You see the frustration with Zaha. Dean Smith yells and yells at clouds about everything going on if something goes wrong. But I think that there's some kind of a disconnect in what Dean Smith is trying to do in trying to get Zaha integrated, and it leaves Agyemang out of the discussion. So you have Pep Biel, you've got Will Zaha, and everybody is drawn to that power forward that is Pat Agyemang. And it's like, okay, if we deny him, then we can frustrate Pep Biel and Zaha, and then their offense goes sideways. And if you stop the striker, then you focus on the midfielders and you bracket Agyemang, and then you get no goals scored on you. And then the back line, which is proving itself to be somewhat of an age issue, and just trying to find the holes there, staying away from Malanda, going to down the defensive left-hand side, attacking on the right, and you're getting all those holes. And Christian Kalina is proving to be human. You can only stop so many when you're getting so many thrown at you.
Yeah, it's like again, I think Brad Guzan leads the league in goals allowed by a goalkeeper, but also leads the league in saves.
Yes.
Because you're just in a shooting gallery every week.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look, Atlanta could have given up 6 Wednesday night in Columbus.
Yeah.
They gave up 3, and Brad made 3 or 4 huge saves where he just got big and just did the job.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, as I say, I think right now for Charlotte, it's the same thing with Kalina, where you're giving up 3 goals a game. He's also making like 3 saves a game where you're like, how the hell did he do that?
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's see. And then the 2 subs, Bart, just because it was cups of coffee. Damian Downs got a 6 and Tolkien got a 5.
Yeah, look, I'm going to give props to Downs for finishing his penalty kick, which John Tolkien didn't do.
Yes. So, yeah.
Tolkien, I will say, hit a good penalty kick, but you can't telegraph where you're going to put the ball against Keeler Navas.
No. And then he gets the leap. Like those legs turned back the clock 5 years. Yep. The reach across the body was just, oh my God. Like that dude still has those world-class moments where you're like, man, I need the rest of the world to respect Keeler Navas the way they would if his national team card said like Spain instead of Costa Rica on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's been unfortunately for Navas his thing his whole career. I mean, the dude is a Champions League winner.
Mm-hmm.
But they were trying to replace him the entire time they're on this run to the Champions League, and he's bailing them out game after game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tim Ream ran down a guy nearly half his age.
He did. Tim Ream had a shaky game. He did that though, which was nice to see.
Okay, just checking. I was kind of focusing with the audio off, or the audio that I was listening to was 2 to NA, so it might have been lost in my schedules. By the way, Nick Alifi, who is kind of keeping an eye on us this morning. Canada can't handle an SEC schedule.
They can't even handle Big Ten schedule.
It's the entire damn Club World Cup, and all of Europe can't handle SEC weather, Paul, and it ain't just the heat. I don't know. Have y'all talked about the fact that these clubs are like hanging out in the locker room instead of sitting on the bench because it's too hot for them?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. We talked about Enzo Maresca saying that the weather was a joke, but the German clubs who are saying it's too hot, and so they're just sitting inside.
So what I'm hearing here is don't put
their next games are Atlanta.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm hearing here is don't put a single damn dime on Germany in the World Cup next year.
No, I could see that.
Or they're doing the whole thing of we're just being smarter, work smarter, not harder, and who knows?
I guess, my whole the weather thing is fascinating to me. Where were complaining about like all these stoppages because of weather. I'm like, it's the United States, man. Like a very, very large chunk of this country exists in an area where at least 2 natural disasters can happen every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever they may be, whether that's hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, wildfires.
Wow.
A large chunk of this country is natural disaster prone, and we have the most unhinged weather patterns on the planet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And as we learned last year, a lot of those places can have both of them happen to them.
Absolutely true. All right, so we barely get to touch reffing down here, so we can put that to the side for later.
Okay, we talked about Schaffelberg.
We did. Okay. So what's going on with the Soccer for USPod?
Well, we're going to record whenever we get done with the Gold Cup. We will record and talk about that. We'll probably throw some women's national team chat in there because we do get a game against Canada on Wednesday, which should prove to be an actual evaluation game, if you will. Ireland, they're fine, but they're not up to the level that you can truly make takeaways other than, hey, we won. That's good. So we will see what we look like on Wednesday, which, again, we got 2 games for the U.S. Going on Wednesday, game at 7 and 7:30. So some split screening will be necessary.
Absolutely true. And if you are local and watching at a particular establishment, you might have to have a lot of carbs heading into the building.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you score 4, and a lot of folks are partaking in.
Luckily, we did not have a women's national. Well, I won't say luckily. We didn't have a women's national team party yesterday because we did have 2 matches and felt like being at a bar for 6 hours was probably a little too much, even for a degenerate.
Wow.
We're not Norm, unfortunately, as much as he is my idol.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yes. Yes, be careful.
Yes.
That's for sure.
All in the pacing. As always, my friend, great to see you. And I know we went extra time. Hopefully we didn't get you into any trouble on a Monday. And
successfully answered work emails while talking to you.
There you go. All right. So we will catch up with you on the flip side of all this stuff. And as always, the way to crash is you drink from your Carolina Core mug.
I was going to say, we just wanted to shout them out real quick because, hey,
yes,
they're in the footprint.
Yes, they're in the footprint. Absolutely true. All right. Be good, Bart. We'll see you soon.
Y'all have a wonderful Monday.
Yes. All right. Be good. And there goes Bart. And Bart got to hang out with us and did a lot of extra.
That was a long ass time.
It was. Hour and 12 minutes. It looks like Jonnu Smith is being traded from the Steelers to the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick and
to the Steelers from the Dolphins.
Yes. Steelers are getting Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith and a 7 and 27 for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Most expected move ever. Jonnu Smith played for Arthur Smith. Yep. At Tennessee and Atlanta. When he left Atlanta and Arthur Smith landed in Pittsburgh, I told the Pittsburgh Steelers fans in my life, get ready to learn Jonnu Smith.
Yes.
And here it is.
Yes. Spurs are keen on Mohamed Kudus from our friend Ben Jacobs, $85 million for EPL clubs. The feeling within Spurs, West Ham might sanction a £60 million sale. Kudus also offered to Chelsea. Al Nassr retains interest. $120 million Saudi-specific clause exists. Arsenal is exploring a deal for Crystal Palace attacker Abarichi Eze. Ben Fisher also saying at The Guardian that Aston Villa is moving to sell their women's team in a push to avoid a PSR breach to try and comply. Confident of avoiding a PSR breach, Villa have agreed to sell their women's team to V Sports, their parent company, founded by the club's billionaire owners Wes Edens and Nassif Sawiris. V Sports also owns a 29% stake in Vitoria SC and a 25% stake in Real Union, in which Villa's manager, Unai Emery, has a controlling stake. Emi Martinez thought to be seeking a fresh challenge, thought to be the club's highest earner, is under contract till 29. Villa have no desire to sell assets like Morgan Rogers or Ollie Watkins. Remember, this is straight out of Chelsea's playbook because, remember, Chelsea sold the hotel to themselves. A holding company that is a subsidiary or a side business. So, everybody's sitting there looking at the headline of Villa selling their women's team. They're selling it to another branch of themselves. So it is not completely and totally out of the ordinary. Also, Crystal Palace's wait to see if they will be in Europa League is set to go on. UEFA have confirmed they have postponed making a decision on the involvement in the Europa League Texter once again agreed to sell a stake in both clubs, but it came too late for both clubs not to be considered as a part of multi-club model. Delay is happening because Lyon have been removed from Ligue 1 because of their poor financial condition, according to TalkSport. However, after PSG paid an installment of the Barcola deal early, the club have launched an appeal. Should the appeal be successful, Lyon would be back in Ligue 1 and compete in European football. If it's rejected, they've agreed not to take part in any UEFA competition, ensuring that Palace can definitely play in Europa League. And so CFCB First Chamber decided to postpone the assessment of the multi-club ownership case. So further details in the settlement agree will be communicated in due course. And so that is the latest
Can we
involved.
just stop multi-club ownership things, please? Like, it's I don't care if they're separated by the English Channel or if they're separated by leagues, or if they're separated by international borders. Can we just stop the multi-club model? It's exhausting. It's just it's financial crimes with extra steps. It's just annoying. I mean, one of Leon's ideas to solve their problems was basically to borrow money from Botafogo, who, again, owes Atlanta at last check $21 million at least, and
plus
hasn't paid.
Yep.
And plus interest at this point, and penalties and fines and taxes. And if they don't pay, they go on a multi-year transfer ban. But that was the idea of like, well, we're just going to borrow money from our sister club who already isn't paying their debts to pay our debts. Just can we stop with this? And John Texter can jump on social media and name search himself and defend himself and belittle people if he wants to. I don't really care. But can we just stop the multi-club model? Because the shit's exhausting. And I'm just tired of having to keep track of why is this guy going to this team? Oh, it's because the owner owns both clubs. He's just moving players around to win different competitions. No, just divest it all from it. You can pick one club and run that club. You run it into the ground, too bad. Somebody else is buying it. We're taking it from you.
Yes. David says, next thing you know, it's Minute Maid Stadium and the world is ending. Yes, absolutely true. Tomorrow in hour number 2, Anna Torres is going to be joining us from the Genuine Cup in Houston, soccer tournament for players with intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism. July 31 to August 3, teams from Spain, Portugal, Mexico, and the U.S. are going to compete in the preliminary phase, and it's going to be at Rice's University soccer fields with the final at Hell in a Shell. And we will find out what's going on at Genuine Cup tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Anna Torres is going to join us from there. 10:30 tomorrow, John Arnold's going to join us, where we will be completely and totally CONCACAFinated and find out what in the wide world of sports is going on with him. Full disclosure, we are folks that are subscribers to his getting CONCACAFinated stuff. And so it'll be good to catch up with both of them in the Central Time Zone tomorrow. Catch up on everything that we missed with Gold Cup and Club World Cup and sound and things and MLS and all of that on Tuesday. Wednesday, I believe Tyler is back. He got to spend time, I think, in the Augusta airport because of the weather, but I think he is actually back. Dylan Butler hopefully can join us. Keeler Hodges joining us Wednesday at 10:30. Then Thursday it is open in hour number 1. Hour number 2, the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. And because Friday's July 4th, we have no show because we're going to be rooting on folks that are going to be running southbound uphill toward Heartbreak Hill in the Peachtree Road Race. So that is the week that we have as of right now. Jarrett, last thoughts from you before we get out of here.
Fun game last night again. Very imperfect from the U.S. national team. I thought Pochettino talked about it, that there's a lot of mental toughness there because you give up the early penalty, you get a penalty, then it's saved, and you crawl back into it. You get the lead, you give up the lead, you go to penalties. Like there is mental toughness there, and I'm happy to see that. It's very imperfect, a lot of things to fix. Doesn't mean it's all good. But you do have to, especially as a manager, I think you have to take away those positive things and build on them going into your next game. It's his job. As far as everybody else dooming and glooming literally everything, I swear to God, half of this fan base is, despite what anyone might say or write about, half the damn people who watch and absorb the U.S. national team would be happier to see them lose because it gives them something to bitch about as opposed to watching the team succeed. And that's an exhausting principle and an exhausting way to live your life. Mm-hmm. If if your entire ethos bends upon the idea of, well, I'm a U.S. national team fan, okay? And you're just basically banking on them to lose games so you have something easy for you to yell about or read about, please go touch some grass.
Yes.
I'm begging you to find something other than misery to absorb your life in. And if you can't pull yourself out of that, then walk away from the sport, walk away from sports, and go find something that brings you some actual joy in your life other than being part of an online army that complains about something. And don't try college football because that's not any better, because that's like herding cats. It's getting a bunch of 19 and 22-year-olds to move in one unified direction at any given moment.
Yeah, good luck on that.
But find something else to bring a bit of joy in your life, because I swear to God, there's plenty of people on any of these godforsaken hell sites that people use for social media that would sooner see the U.S. national team lose so they can mope and be sad and feel justified in that, instead of just enjoying that. Hey, did they play perfect? Not at all. Did they play good? Only for a little bit. Did they win? Yeah, we'll take it, because you have a World Cup in less than a year, John.
Yes, that is true. And I know that we're going to be discussing all of that for the next year while we get ready for things. We will be at the Monterrey and Dortmund press conferences today. Monterrey has been practicing. I believe they're done practicing this morning. And Domi Torrent is going to be seeing the media at 1:30 Eastern time. We'll catch you up with that. So keep an eye on the SDH socials. Borussia Dortmund, Niko Kovac plus players. They're going to be later tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we'll turn that for you as well coming up around the week. And it looks like Jess Charman is going to try and figure out a time when she can find and when she can tell us how she got the Esperance de Tunisie jersey and I did not. So there you go. So thanks to Bart for sticking on late. Thanks to Jarrett for coming on early. Thanks to Abe Gordon at 92.9 The Game, because he's kind of busy right now, so he had to do two things at once. And thanks to all of y'all. Thanks to David. Thanks to Ropes. Thanks to Abby. Thanks to Michael. Thanks to Rich. I'm trying to see if I'm Morning Dell. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anybody else. Thanks, Ropes. Thanks, Nick. Don't be a stranger. Let's see. Thanks, Derek. Good morning there. Morning, Derek. Morning, Rich. Morning, David. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Michael Head. Let's see. There's Abby, and there's Dell, and there's Alex. Trying to see if I've missed anybody with all of the folks that have dropped in here this morning. I think that is everybody. So Ropes is there, and Alex and Ricky and Abby batted leadoff. I think that covers all of us. So once again, back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. So it's a little less than 22 hours from now. We'll talk about stuff, and we'll get some visits going on in Texas in the second hour of the show from the Genuine Cup and from John Arnold. So it's going to be a fun Tuesday. For everybody here, to all of you folks, Jarrett, last words are yours.
No, those were my last words, complaining about the U.S. national team, other than to say, mucho platio.
That. We'll see you tomorrow.